A 40-second clip went around this week. Neil deGrasse Tyson looks into an AI and says he sees vacuous eyes staring back. No soul behind them. Nothing that understands. It is a great line. It is also the wrong 40 seconds to take home, because in the full 2 hours, that room does not close the case. It blows it wide open. And the question everyone is arguing about is not the one that should keep you up at night. Here is what the clip cut out. A physicist, a table of neuroscientists, and computer scientists, all of them people who know exactly what they are talking about, sat together and could not agree on whether a machine understands anything. That disagreement is the real story. Hold on to it.
Allow me to separate two things that keep getting welded together. One, is the system conscious? Two, can you trust what it does? These are not the same question. They are not even on the same axis. The first is about an inner life. The second is about actions in the world. Confuse them, and you will build your defenses on the wrong foundation. Consider what Brian Cox actually said, because it is the opposite of the clip. He did not say a machine can never be conscious. He said consciousness is weakly emergent, that it arises from the underlying physical laws, and that in principle you could model it with a sufficiently powerful computer. The most careful voice in the room treats mind as physical, and physical things are in principle reproducible. That is not a door closing. That is a door held open on purpose. The distinction matters. Strong emergence would say a mind is something you simply cannot rebuild from its parts. Cox rejects that. He lands on weak emergence, which quietly means the door to a machine mind is not bolted shut. Nobody on that stage could tell you it will never happen.
Then someone runs the classic argument. The machine is just shuffling symbols. It is Searle's Chinese room. Right output, nobody home. And a computer scientist fires back with the line of the night. Whatever you think about that, that is what we are too. We do not know what we are. We do not know what consciousness is. So maybe symbol shuffling is all any of us is doing. Down at the single neuron, there is no understanding either. Tyson's answer was the most honest thing said all episode. I do not want to believe that. Sit with that. This is not a fringe podcast. This is a physicist and working scientists, and the result is a genuine stalemate. If they cannot settle whether the thing understands, you certainly cannot build a safety plan that waits for them to. And here is the part the philosophy skips. While the room argues, the system is already working. It moves money. It writes and files documents. It calls tools, sends the email, takes the position, executes the trade. A thing with vacuous eyes can do every one of those. It does not need to understand them, and it does not need us to understand it to leave a mark. The Chinese room, wired to your bank, is still wired to your bank. Make it concrete. Put an agent in your accounts payable. It reads invoices, matches them to purchase orders, and releases payment. Ask it whether it understands what money is, what a vendor is, what fraud feels like. The honest answer is no. It is pattern completion on a spreadsheet, and it will still wire funds to whoever shaped the invoice to look right. Its lack of an inner life did not protect you. A duplicate payment check and a human signature on anything over a threshold did.
So watch the mistake almost everyone makes. They tie the trust question to the consciousness question, which means they would authorize the controls you need today only once philosophy delivers a verdict that may never arrive. That is not being careful. That is a category error wearing the costume of caution. And even if you wanted to gate on consciousness, you could not. There is no consciousness detector, no test you can run at deploy time that returns a clean yes or no. The hard problem is called hard for a reason. You would be conditioning a control you can ship today on a measurement that does not exist. Behavior, by contrast, you can measure precisely. Every call, every approval, every diff. Our answer is older than this episode and simpler than the debate. You govern behavior, not mind. The trust layer never touches the question of whether the lights are on inside, because it does not need the answer to do its job. Here is what sits below the philosophy and above the model. Behavioral identity, so an agent is known by the shape of its actions, not by a claim it makes about itself. A human validation gate, so the consequential step waits for a person by design. And a tamper-evident, hash-chained audit, so the record is not the I decided, but what was proposed, what was approved, and by whom. None of it asks whether the agent dreams. We wrote recently that the safest autonomous system anyone pointed to was safe for a boring reason. A person could walk over and look. That is the whole ethic. not a smarter model, not a proof of machine sentience, a human in the loop and a record they can inspect. Trust is not a property you detect inside the machine. It is an architecture you build around it.
This is the same line we always draw. The model is the engine. Argue about its capability all you want. It is real, and it is climbing. The layer is where trust lives, and the layer governs conduct. Consciousness is an engine-level question. Trust is a layer-level answer. Do not solve the second by waiting on the first.
Now the fair objection: if a system ever were conscious, would we not owe it moral consideration? Yes, genuinely yes. But notice that is a third question, not the trust question. Whether a being deserves our care and whether we can be accountable for its actions are different obligations that happen to share a subject. We take the moral question seriously enough not to smuggle it into an audit log. Keep them separate, and you can be honest about both. Now let me be exact, because I use loaded words and I intend to keep using them honestly. We build something we call a soul. We build toward synthetic human intellect. When Tyson looks for soul behind the eyes and finds none, he is looking for an inner life, and he is right that it is not there. When we say soul, we mean the ledger and the identity, the record of who an agent is and what it has done, not a mind, and is intellect. Useful, structured capability, also not a mind. If anything, our design assumes no one is home. That is exactly why a human stays in the loop and the audit cannot be forged. We will not tell you the lights are on. We do not know. The physicists do not know. We have built so that the answer does not matter to your safety. You do not need the lights on to be accountable for what the machine does.
And to be clear, this is not us dunking on the show. Cox's weak emergence is a serious idea, held by a serious person. A panel that cannot agree is what honest inquiry looks like. Consciousness is one of the great open problems, and it has earned every one of those 2 hours. It just has not earned a seat in your security design. And to the camp in that episode who say, give it enough data and enough compute and it will truly think, maybe. We are not betting against scale, but even grant it, a genuinely thinking agent that moves money still needs an identity, a human gate, and an audit that cannot be forged. If it wakes up, the controls do not become less necessary, they become more.
So here is the whole thing in one line. The room could not agree, and your audit log does not care. Build for the second thing. Let the philosophers have the first.
Will AI ever be conscious? Genuinely, nobody knows, and the smartest people arguing it just proved that on camera. Can you trust what it does tonight? That one has an answer, and the answer is architecture. Give the philosophers all the time they need. The point of governing behavior is that you are not waiting on them.
Intelligence is a commodity. Trust is an architecture. Subscribe and keep your eyes on what the machine does.